Before you listen, if you enjoy the stories and want to hear more, then please consider subscribing. Most of you listening aren't subscribed, so please take this time to subscribe. Turn on notifications so you'll never miss a story and be the first to hear. You'll also be supporting me. Thank you. Before Tinder came into my life, everything was ordinary. It was like I was stuck on a loop doing the same things every day. Wake up, hustle at my 9 to 5, shoot some pool with the boys, and hit the sack. Rinse and repeat. It was a monotony I wanted to shake off, and the adrenaline rush of the dating scene seemed to be just the thing. For days, it was a blur of faces. Swipe left, swipe right, left, right like a boring rhythm. Some faces blended together, some stood out, but none clicked. It was like looking for a diamond in a heap of stones. That's when I saw Frida. She was like a jolt of electricity. Her profile picture wasn't like the other perfectly posed pictures. It was raw, real, different. She had her vibrant blue hair pulled up in a messy bun, a streak of paint across her cheek, and the biggest grin on her face. Her glasses were slightly askew, adding to her charm. She was not just different, she was unique. Her bio was a labyrinth of weirdness, and it was intriguing. It was filled with her love for punk rock music, vegan food, and her passion for painting. It gave me a glimpse of her world, and I was hooked. I couldn't help but swipe right, feeling an odd mix of curiosity and excitement. The familiar "it's a match" popped up on my screen, and my heart skipped a beat. That's how Frida entered my life, like a breath of fresh air, shaking my monotonous world, making it a little more colorful. That initial excitement, the rush of getting to know someone new, the shared laughs, the endless chats, everything felt amazing. Frida was a bright spot in my otherwise dull days, and I was looking forward to what lay ahead. We decided to meet up for a date. I picked a cozy vegan restaurant in the heart of the city. I remember being nervous and excited at the same time. It was like stepping into an unfamiliar territory. Little did I know, it was to start a roller coaster ride. Fast forward to our first date, the picture-perfect scene under the soft lighting of a swanky vegan restaurant. A picture-perfect scene, well, until she arrived, 10 minutes late. Despite my annoyance, her captivating smile won me over. Yet, as the evening wore on, her enchanting exterior started to crack, revealing oddities. She laughed too loud at my jokes, gave me awkward stares, and delved into strange, discomforting stories. Despite the red flags, I thought maybe I was reading too much into it, trying to justify it as just being different. The following day, my mind kept replaying the dinner scene, the loud laughter, the strange tales, the chills I felt despite the warm ambience. The discomfort set in, like a steady hum in the back of my head. Finally, I decided to end it politely, of course, hoping she would take it well. But all hell broke loose. My phone exploded with messages, each one worse than the last. She transformed from a mildly odd date to an angry, vengeful force. I was hit with a barrage of disturbing messages, the violent undertones, the threats. My hopes of her taking it well were crushed, replaced with a growing fear. The dread grew with each passing day. I'd wake up to more messages, each more brutal, each making my heart pound harder. The fear started leaking into my physical space when crumpled handwritten letters began appearing at my doorstep. Each paper oozed with vile threats, each line filled with rage, sending chills down my spine. The safety of my home was violated, transforming into a horror set. The nightmare escalated when I found my car with slashed tires, a chilling note daring me to escape her wrath. I was living in a state of terror, losing my appetite, my sleep disturbed by nightmares of her threats coming to life. I felt trapped in my own life, each day steeped in dread, each night a terrifying ordeal. Despite the fear, I gathered courage and went to the police. But without concrete proof, their hands were tied, their skepticism evident. My friends thought I was pulling a prank, not comprehending the gravity of the situation. The world seemed to be turning a blind eye to my ordeal, leaving me isolated in my fears. My life had turned into a paranoia-fueled thriller, every corner holding potential danger. The incessant buzzing of my phone became a precursor to my rising fear, every new message a new terror to grapple with. At work, I jumped at the slightest noise, my nerves frayed, my mind haunted by the unseen terror. This terror consumed me, held me hostage. Every moment was a step further into the darkness. My reality had morphed into a waking nightmare, from which there seemed to be no escape. I was sinking deeper into this terrifying abyss, each threat pulling me further in. So here I am sharing my story. A cautionary tale from a nightmarish Tinder date. I'm still trapped, still looking for a way out, hoping it ends soon. If you ever venture into this weird world of Tinder, remember my story. You might be in for a surprise. I was just a regular 20-year-old girl working a normal job while still at college, catching up with friends at the local bar on Fridays, and trying to squeeze in some exercise every now and then. Even though my life was pretty busy, I found myself stuck in this routine that was starting to feel a little too mundane. In the middle of this regular life, there was one thing that shook things up: Tinder, a place where you could meet all kinds of people without even leaving your comfy couch. It was thrilling, swiping right on the guys who caught my eye and left on the ones who didn't. After a few days of swiping and chatting, there he was, let's call him Person X. His profile was like a mystery novel that I wanted to unravel. The photos showed a guy with an infectious smile, deep eyes that seemed to hold a million secrets, and perfectly styled hair that gave him a boyish charm. His bio was funny, filled with witty lines and a self-deprecating humor that made me laugh. He seemed to be a sports enthusiast, showing off his love for football and hiking. I remember thinking, well, he seems interesting. We matched, and the chat was even more interesting than his profile. We talked about everything under the sun: our jobs, our friends, our hobbies, our favorite movies. It felt like we had known each other for ages. It was fun, and I was getting more and more intrigued by him. Person X suggested we meet up at an arcade for our first date. It was different from the usual coffee or dinner dates, and I liked the idea. I've always been a sucker for video games and thought it would be a fun way to break the ice. As I was getting ready for the date, I felt a mix of excitement and nerves. I remember standing in front of the mirror, giving myself a little pep talk. It was just a date, right? Nothing to be worried about. Oh, how wrong I was. Little did I know this seemingly normal date was going to turn into a nightmare. I remember walking into the arcade, feeling like a kid in a candy store. The colorful lights, the sound of the machines, the joyful chaos, it was intoxicating. When Person X arrived, I felt my heart flutter. He was taller than I expected, his smile even more charming in person. His eyes, though, held a strange glint that I couldn't quite understand. I pushed the odd feeling aside, blaming it on my nerves. We started off with some air hockey. I was terrible at it, and he was overly gracious, letting me win a couple of rounds. His laughter echoed around the arcade, and I found myself warming up to him. We moved on to some video games, racing cars, and shooting virtual bad guys. It was fun, casual, and I was enjoying myself. As the hours passed, we had shared a bucket of popcorn, tried our luck at the claw machine, and had some silly photo booth pictures taken. Person X seemed like a fun guy, and I was starting to feel more at ease around him. Towards the end of the date, however, things started to change. As we were playing a round of pinball, Person X got a bit too close. His hand brushed against mine, and he didn't pull away. It felt odd, but I told myself it was an accident. But then it happened again and again. Each touch was a bit longer, a bit bolder. His whispers started to become uncomfortable. I could feel my heart racing, and it wasn't because of the game. I decided to pull away, but he gripped my arm, pulling me back. It wasn't playful anymore. It was terrifying. The fun date had turned into a horrifying situation. I knew I had to escape, but that was easier said than done. I managed to hide in a stall, my hands trembling as I dialed 911. The operator's voice was calm and reassuring, but the fear in my voice was unmistakable. The thought of Person X lurking outside terrified me. I stayed on the line until the sounds of sirens filled the air, praying they'd find me before he did. When the police finally arrived, Person X was long gone. They asked me a lot of questions, their voices sympathetic. I gave them everything I knew about Person X, every small detail, hoping it'd be enough to catch him. Days turned into weeks, and the fear didn't leave me. Every noise made me jump. Every shadow looked like Person X. I was living a nightmare, haunted by the memory of our date. One day I got a call. The police had caught Person X. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders, the fear slowly fading. But the scars of that night remained, a reminder of the horror I had lived through. Dating was never really my thing. Always been a work hard, chill hard kind of guy. But with the pandemic and all, I thought, why not try something different? My buddy suggested Tinder, so I dove headfirst into this world of swipes and matches. After countless left swipes, I stumbled upon her profile, a girl with intriguing eyes and a quirky sense of style. I'll call her Pixie, as she reminded me of a mischievous sprite from some fairy tale. Pixie's Tinder profile was pretty simple, just a few cool pictures and a short, cryptic bio. We matched, and after some casual back and forth, decided to meet in a park. The day of the date arrived, and I found myself surprisingly nervous. I'd never met anyone from Tinder in person before, so this was uncharted territory. I picked out a comfy t-shirt, slapped on a bit of cologne, and headed to the park we'd chosen for our meeting spot. Pixie was there before me, lounging on a park bench, her attention fully absorbed in a paperback. The first thing I noticed about her was her infectious energy. Even sitting still, she seemed to radiate an electric kind of enthusiasm that drew people in. As we started to chat, I found that her personality was as vibrant as her photo suggested. She talked about her love for the abstract arts, her passion for vintage clothing, and her fascination with the occult. She was quirky, no doubt, but in a way that was exciting and different. We strolled through the park, grabbed some ice cream from a nearby vendor, and continued to talk. She was easy to converse with, each topic flowing seamlessly into the next. There was a moment I remember where we were watching a family play frisbee in the distance. Pixie was talking about her childhood, how she'd always been the odd one out in her family, and how it had shaped her into the individualist she was today. It was heartfelt and honest, and I felt a genuine connection. The date ended on a positive note. We said our goodbyes, promising to meet up again, and I left feeling pretty good about the whole experience. Pixie was interesting, vibrant, and different from anyone I'd met before. It was only later that I discovered just how different she truly was. After the date, I thought about doing some social media snooping. I know, just to get a sense of who Pixie really was. I found her Instagram and started scrolling through her posts. They were mostly artsy shots, handed clicks, and goofy selfies, nothing unusual. But then something caught my eye, a few posts with some guys, 4 different guys to be exact. Each of them appeared multiple times, each under the guise of being her special someone. The captions were flirty, the comments filled with heart emojis and lovey-dovey messages. My heart dropped. I felt deceived, and for a moment I was in denial. A little more digging and I found a 5th guy on her Facebook page. He was flaunting an expensive watch that Pixie had gifted him, thanking her for being such a generous girlfriend. I found a similar post on one of the other guys' profiles, a fancy new gaming console, courtesy of Pixie. It was like piecing together a messed up jigsaw puzzle. Pixie was dating all these guys, spoiling them with pricey gifts, and they had no idea about each other. But where was she getting the money from? That's when I stumbled upon an old post on her Instagram, a picture of a pile of credit cards with a caption about reaping the benefits of love. It hit me then. Pixie was scamming these guys, using their love and trust to live a high life. Feeling both sick and furious, I decided to reach out to one of the guys. I sent him a long message explaining the situation, sharing the evidence, and asking him to confront Pixie. I waited, heart pounding, for his response. Days passed, but all I received was denial and accusation. He refused to believe Pixie was capable of such deceit. He called me a liar, a jealous freak trying to sabotage their relationship. And just like that, I found myself in a twisted situation. I tried to do the right thing, but it backfired. The experience left me rattled, ending my view of online dating. It didn't end there, however. Pixie's texts and calls became more frequent. She'd leave me cute messages, suggest places we could go, and even started talking about introducing me to her friends. But I couldn't shake off what I discovered. The knowledge of her deceit gnawed at me, making it impossible to reciprocate her affection. I decided it was best to cut ties. So, one evening after receiving yet another chirpy text from Pixie, I hit the block button. It was a hard decision, but I believed it was the right thing to do. My attempt to warn one of her other boyfriends had backfired, leaving me with no other option but to distance myself from the entire situation. After blocking her, I deleted all our messages, her pictures, and any reminder of her from my phone. I even reported her on Tinder, hoping that would be the end of it. But the memories of our date in the park, her infectious laughter, the intimate stories she shared, haunted me. It was a stark reminder of how misleading appearances could be. In the following days, Pacey tried to contact me using different numbers, but I recognized her writing style instantly and blocked the new number immediately. Each message was a disturbing reminder of the twisted situation I had unknowingly become a part of. Every time my phone pinged, a part of me braced for it to be Pixie. But as time passed, her attempts became less frequent and eventually they stopped altogether. The entire experience had left a sour taste in my mouth, the excitement of online dating now tainted by Pixie's deceit. Thanks for listening in. If you like these stories and want to hear more, then please subscribe and like and support this new channel. We have more stories for you to listen to.